Hello and welcome to this video where you're now going to be shown how you can select, move, rotate and scale an object. So to begin with, we're going to be looking at these, I believe it's, 3, 6, 7 buttons up the top here. And the first one is the select object. If we have this selected and then we left click on any object, then you can see that it becomes highlighted with this white outline. This indicates that this is now the selected object. Next to that, we have a select by name. And if we click this, it's going to bring up a list. And you can see in this list, it has box 001. And this indicates to the fact that this is called box 001. And you can see that right here. And so when we press this, then we are able to select multiple objects within our scene. So if I created a few more different cubes here, and we name this one, let's see, select me, and then we go to this select by name. You can see we have this select me. If I double click on this, and it becomes the selected object. So if we have nothing selected, let's just select away so you can see this working much better, and you double click, then that is then going to become the selected object. And there are a few different things within this dialog box itself that we can look at in later videos. But the basics of this is that it's going to allow you to select things within your scene. And if you want a shortcut for that, you can simply press the H key. After that, we have the selection type. Okay, so what this means is that instead of using the select object, we can select by a Marquee Selection. And in this case, it is a rectangle. So if we click in an area of the viewport and then click and drag, we can create a Marquee Selection. Now, if we left click and hold, it's going to give us options to have different selection types. So in this case, we can have a sphere, a circle, or we can have some sort of custom shape. And there are a few others in here that we can look at too. So we have a sort of freehand selection, and we also have this paint selection, which is more useful for when it comes to selecting polygons. And we'd look at that option later. The next one is this option that says crossing, and what this basically means is that if we are, say we wanted to select this object and we only selected or made a Marquee Selection and only selected part of this object itself, it's going to become selected. Now, there may be a point where that is not what you want, and so by checking this, what actually happens is if we only select half of the object, it no longer becomes selected. So in order for us to now select this object itself, we have to make an entire Marquee Selection around the entire object. So the next three are going to be the most common ones, or the most used ones are going to be used. The first one is the select and move. And this is going to allow us to not only select our object, but also move it in the X, Y, or Z, or in sort of 2 or more directions in X, Y, or Z. So when we have the select and move enabled, and then we select an object, it's going to give us this gizmo here with an X, Y, and Z that are color coded. And if we click on one of these arrows, then we can move within that direction itself. Now you can see between these 2 points, we have these yellow boxes when we scroll over them. And what that means is that, for instance, in this case, if we click this one, we're going to be able to move between X and Y on the same axis here. I should say, sorry, X and Y. Next to that, we have the select and rotate, and this is similar to the select and move in that we have X, Y, and Z color coded. And if we select one of these lines and move the mouse, then it's going to allow us to rotate along those axes. Now, if we click anywhere between these points, then we're going to be allowed to freely rotate along any axis. And finally, after that, we have select and scale. And this is going to allow us to scale on the X, Y, or Z axis if we like, as well as the ability to scale in either 2 directions. So just like how we did before when it comes to moving our objects, or in all 3. And that's basically what that's going to allow us to do for us. Now, some of these options, so for instance, this transformation tools, you can see it says uniform scale, so it says select and uniform scale. But if we left click and hold, then it's going to give us different transformation types. So this one is non-uniform scale, and so on and so forth. So some of these options have flyouts, and that was just like the Marquee Selection type there. Now it's worth knowing that some of these options have the ability to be right-clicked, and that will bring up manual controls. So for instance, if we are on the move tool here, if we right-click that, it's going to bring up the manual controls to allow us to manually move the object itself. So if we have a specific value we'd like to enter in any of these, we can do that here, especially when it comes to the select and move, because if you remember in the first video I said that we have these three dialog boxes here that have values, and this both indicates to the ability for us to move the object itself, or if we move the object, you should see that the values within those areas update automatically and indicate the position of the object within the world. And so that right click up here also applies for the scale, rotate, the transformation, rotate, and the move tool. So in this case we have the rotation values, and here we have the scale values. Now the scale values also has an offset worlds, and this is just a scalable value by a factor of percentage. So we could make this 200% bigger, 50% smaller, so on and so forth. So that's the basics of the select, move and transform tools. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.